The kettle hissed softly on my stove, filling my tiny apartment with the warm scent of chamomile. It was a quiet morning, the kind where the world feels like it's holding its breath. I was halfway through stirring honey into my tea when my phone buzzed against the counter, sharp and insistent. The screen lit up with a name I hadn't seen in years, Mrs. Carver, our old family friend from down the street. Just seeing her name dragged up memories I thought I'd buried. Sunday dinners, her homemade apple pies, the way she'd slip me extra cookies when my parents weren't looking. I frowned. Why would she be messaging me now? If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon to stay updated with all our latest stories. Your support means the world. If you find this video valuable, please give it a like. I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments below, and so will our other viewers. Now let's dive into the story. I tapped the message, expecting a nostalgic note or maybe a belated apology for losing touch. Instead, it was a video file with a single line, "I'm so sorry about your loss, Hannah. I saw something today that broke my heart." My stomach twisted. Loss? What was she talking about? I hadn't lost anyone. Not recently. Not ever. Not in the way that warranted a message like this. My finger hovered over the play button, a strange dread creeping up my spine. I pressed it. The video opened on a church, its stained glass windows glowing under the midday sun. I recognized it immediately. St. Mary's, the place my family dragged me to every Easter when I was a kid, all stiff dresses and forced smiles. The camera wobbled, clearly filmed by someone unsteady, zooming in on the front of the sanctuary. Two figures stood at the podium. My parents, Grace and Robert. My mother wore a black velvet dress, her face half hidden behind a lace handkerchief. My father, rigid as ever, clutched a piece of paper, his voice low but clear through the phone's speaker. "Our daughter," he said, pausing to clear his throat, "was lost to us too soon. But we'll always cherish her memory." The camera panned slightly, and my breath caught. Behind them, on a table draped in white, sat a framed photo of me. My college graduation picture, the one where I was grinning like I'd conquered the world. Lilies surrounded it, their petals stark against the dark wood of a casket. A casket. My photograph. My funeral. I froze, the mug slipping in my hands. Hot tea splashed onto the counter, but I barely noticed. My heart pounded so loud it drowned out the kettle's whistle. I wasn't dead. I was standing right here, alive, breathing, my pulse hammering in my ears. This couldn't be real. I scrubbed the video back, played it again. My mother's handkerchief fluttered as she dabbed at dry eyes. My father's voice cracked on cue, saying, "Hannah was a light, even in her struggles." Struggles? What struggles? I'd been working, paying rent, living my life alone, sure, but alive. Then I saw her, Chloe, my younger sister, standing off to the side. She wore a tailored black dress, her blonde hair pulled into a perfect bun, her expression somber but polished, like she'd rehearsed it in a mirror. She didn't speak, didn't cry, just stood there, clutching a single rose like it was her job to look mournful. My hands shook as I gripped the phone. The video ended abruptly, Mrs. Carver's message staring back at me. "I'm so sorry." I set the phone down, my knees weak. The apartment felt too small, the walls too close. I whispered to myself, "Why are they saying I'm dead?" The words hung in the air, unanswered. I played the video one more time, searching their faces for a hint of guilt, a crack in the performance. Nothing. They were calm, controlled, convincing. But I knew better. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't grief gone wrong. It was deliberate, a lie so big it buried me alive. And I needed to know why. The tea had gone cold, sitting untouched on the counter as I stared at the phone. Mrs. Carver's video burned into my mind. My parents' faces, Chloe's perfect poise. It wasn't just a funeral. It was a performance. My chest ached, not from grief, but from something sharper, something that had been festering for years. I sank onto the couch, the worn cushions creaking under me, and let my thoughts drift back to where it all went wrong. 3 years ago, I wasn't just disowned. I was erased, and the wound still bled. Back then, I was Hannah, the dependable daughter, the one who balanced the books for our family's bakery chain, a legacy my grandparents poured their hearts into. The smell of fresh bread and icing sugar was home, or so I thought. But Chloe, my little sister, was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. She'd breeze into the office in designer heels, flashing smiles that hid a hunger for things she couldn't afford, weekend trips, glittering parties, a life bigger than our small city. When the bakery's accounts started bleeding, nearly $90,000 gone over 6 months, I was the one who noticed. I should have stayed quiet. I still remember the day it unraveled. I was in the back office, spreadsheets open, when I found the forged checks. Chloe's signature was sloppy, reckless, like she didn't expect anyone to look. I confronted her, not out of anger, but because I thought we could fix it together. Her eyes went wide, then cold. "You're going to ruin everything," she hissed, storming out. I should have known she'd run to Mom and Dad. That night, they called me to the house, the same dining room where we used to laugh over Grandma's cherry tarts. My mother didn't sit. She stood, arms crossed, her voice like ice. "One daughter's ruin is better than both," she said, her eyes boring into me. My father stared at the table, his silence louder than words. "You stole from us, Hannah. You betrayed this family." I tried to explain, showed them the checks, the dates, Chloe's name, but they wouldn't listen. Dad finally looked up, his voice flat. "You're no longer part of this family. Leave." Just like that, I was gone. By morning, my key to the bakery didn't work. My phone calls went to voicemail, my texts unanswered. I stood outside our house, rain soaking my jacket, and pounded on the door until my knuckles bled. No one came. Letters I sent came back unopened. Cousins, aunts, even my childhood best friend, they all turned away, one by one, like I was a stranger. I was 25, alone, with nothing but a suitcase and a bank account they'd already drained to cover the loss. I moved 2 states away, took a job shelving books in a quiet store, and learned to live small. No social media, no old friends, just me and the ache of what used to be family. I thought I'd buried the hurt, but last year something strange happened. I tried logging into my old bank account, the one I hadn't touched since the fallout. It was frozen, flagged as belonging to a deceased person. Deceased. Me. I called customer service, my voice shaking, and they said it was a mistake, a glitch in the system. They fixed it, and I let it go, chalking it up to bad luck. But now, staring at that video, the pieces clicked together like a lock snapping shut. It wasn't a glitch. It was a warning, a shadow of the lie they'd built around me. I picked up my phone, my thumb hovering over a contact I hadn't called in years. Lucas, my cousin, the only one who ever seemed to see me for me. He was younger, always tagging along when we were kids, asking me to teach him how to sketch. If anyone would tell me the truth, it was him. My heart pounded as I pressed call, the ring echoing in my ear like a countdown. I needed answers, and I wasn't stopping until I had them. What did they tell everyone? And why was my name on a casket when I was still breathing? The phone rang twice before Lucas picked up, his voice hesitant, like he was answering a ghost. "Hannah," he said, and I could hear the disbelief through the static. My grip tightened on the phone, the dim light of my apartment casting long shadows across the floor. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Lucas, I need to know what's going on. I just saw a video of my own funeral." "My funeral, Lucas. I'm not dead." Silence stretched on, heavy and thick. Then he whispered, "They told us you drowned. A boating accident, 2 years ago. They said you were out on some trip, and there was a memorial. We all thought you were gone." His words hit like a punch, knocking the air from my lungs. Drowning? I'd never even been on a boat, not since I was a kid splashing in a lake with him. My mind raced, piecing together the lie. "Who told you that?" I pressed. "What exactly did they say?" Lucas hesitated, his voice low. "Your parents. Chloe too. They said it happened fast, out on the coast somewhere. No body, just a story about how they couldn't bring you home. They had a closed casket service, said it was too painful to explain." I paced the room, my bare feet cold against the hardwood. No body. Of course. That's how you bury someone who's still walking around. I swallowed hard. Did anyone check? Did anyone ask for proof? He sighed. No, Hannah. We grieved. We believed them. I ended the call, my pulse hammering. The truth was slipping through my fingers like sand, but I wasn't letting go. I grabbed my laptop, fingers flying over the keys as I searched public records. It didn't take long to find it, a death certificate, cold and official, staring back at me from the screen. Hannah Marie Ellis. Date of death, June 8th, 2 years ago. Cause, accidental drowning. My stomach churned. That day, I'd been shelving books at the store, sneezing through a dusty inventory shift. I had pay stubs to prove it, timestamps, even a receipt from the coffee shop across the street. This wasn't a mistake. It was a forgery. I needed more. I opened a new tab, hesitating before typing Chloe's name. Her social media had been private for years, but now it was wide open, a glittering showcase of her life. Photos of her in a sleek new house, marble countertops gleaming under chandeliers. She posed with a glass of wine, captioning it, grateful for family support that made this dream real. My jaw clenched. Family support? Then I saw it, a painting on her wall, vivid blues and golds, the one Grandma left me in her will. It was supposed to be mine. A piece of her heart hung in my home, not Chloe's trophy room. My hands shook as I scrolled, each post a stab of betrayal. I needed another angle. I dialed Sarah, a coworker from the bakery days, someone who'd always been kind but distant after I left. She answered on the fourth ring, her voice wary. Hannah? Is that really you? I didn't have time for doubt. Sarah, what's happening at the bakery? With Chloe. She paused, then spoke fast, like she was afraid of being overheard. Chloe's running it now. CEO. Right after they said you passed. The business took off, new locations, big contracts. I heard she got a cash boost, something about settling family accounts. My blood ran cold. Settling accounts. Like my inheritance. I thanked her and hung up, my mind spinning. Then, buried in my email, I found it, an invitation forwarded from a distant cousin, probably by mistake. A remembrance ceremony for me, set for next Sunday at St. Mary's. The words stared back at me, bold and mocking, in loving memory of Hannah Ellis. My family wasn't just lying, they were staging an encore. I leaned back, the chair creaking under me, and felt something shift inside. Anger, yes, but also resolve. They thought they'd buried me for good, but I was done being a ghost. I was going to that ceremony, and I was going to walk right through their lies. The laptop screen glowed in the dark, the remembrance invitation still open, its words like a dare, in loving memory of Hannah Ellis. I shut it down and stood, the silence of my apartment pressing in. My hands hadn't stopped trembling since Sarah's call, since I saw Grandma's painting hanging in Chloe's house like a stolen prize. This wasn't just about lies anymore. It was theft, calculated and cruel. I needed to fight back, and I needed to do it now. Morning light filtered through my blinds as I walked into a small law office downtown, clutching a manila folder thick with proof. Natalie, the attorney, looked barely older than me, her desk cluttered with coffee mugs and legal pads. She raised an eyebrow as I sat down, sliding the folder across. You're challenging, what exactly? She asked, flipping it open. Passports, pay stubs, lease agreements, even a library card. Every scrap of my life since they declared me dead. My own death, I said, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. My family faked it. I'm here to unbury myself. Her eyes widened as she scanned the death certificate, then my records. This is unheard of, she muttered, jotting notes. The certificate claims drowning, but you've got time-stamped proof you were working that day. She paused, meeting my gaze. There's more, isn't there? I nodded, pulling out a bank statement I dug up last night. My grandparents' trust fund, $100,000 meant for me, for college, for a future, was gone, transferred to Chloe 6 months after my death. The paperwork, signed by my parents, claimed I had no living heirs. Natalie whistled low. This is fraud, Hannah. Big time. We can file a complaint, challenge the declaration, but it'll take time. Time's the one thing I don't have, I said, leaning forward. They're holding that ceremony Sunday. I'm going. She blinked, then nodded slowly. Then we start now. I'll draft a motion to void the certificate and flag the transfer as fraudulent. But Hannah, be careful. People don't do this kind of thing unless they've got something big to hide. I left her office with a plan forming, sharp and clear. I booked a flight to my hometown, my fingers steady as I typed my credit card details. Back at my apartment, I packed a small bag, just enough for a few days, enough to face them. I was folding a black dress, one I hadn't worn since a distant cousin's wedding, when I noticed something on the floor. A plain white envelope, no stamp, no address, slid under my door. My pulse spiked as I picked it up, tearing it open. Inside, a single line in block letters. Stay away from St. Mary's. You don't know what they're capable of. I read it again, my breath shallow. No signature, no clue who'd left it. The handwriting was unfamiliar, the paper cheap, like it was torn from a notepad. I turned it over, half expecting something else, but there was nothing. My first instinct was fear. Who knew I was planning this? Who was watching me? But then I laughed, a short, bitter sound. They thought they could scare me off, keep me buried. They didn't know me at all. I tucked the note into my bag, not as a warning, but as fuel. Let them try to stop me. I stood at my window, the city humming below, lights flickering like they were waiting for a spark. 3 years ago, I'd walked away from their lies, thinking silence would heal me. It hadn't. Now, I was walking back in, not for forgiveness but for truth. Sunday was coming, and so was I. They'd dressed me in their story, pinned a casket to my name, but I wasn't staying dead. I was going to crash their stage, and when I did, they'd see just how alive I really was. The air was thick with the scent of polished wood and lilies as I stood across from St. Mary's, hidden in the shadow of a gnarled oak. Cars lined the street, their doors opening to spill out mourners in crisp black suits and dresses, their faces heavy with rehearsed sorrow. I recognized them. Uncle David, his shoulders slumped, my old art teacher, Miss Harper, clutching a tissue, even neighbors I hadn't seen since I was 16. They shuffled into the church, whispering, hugging, believing I was gone. My hands curled into fists, nails biting into my palms. This was my funeral, and I was watching it like a stranger. I adjusted my sunglasses, the black dress I'd packed clinging to me like a second skin. The anonymous note burned in my mind. Stay away from St. Mary's. But it only made me bolder. Let them try to stop me. I crossed the street, my heels clicking against the pavement, and slipped closer to the open doors. The organ hummed inside, a slow, mournful tune that twisted my stomach. I stayed just out of sight, peering through the entrance. Candles flickered at the front, their glow dancing across a framed photo of me, smiling, oblivious, taken at a family picnic years ago. Next to it, a wreath of white roses, pristine and cold. My father stood at the pulpit, his voice steady, practiced. Hannah was troubled, he said, pausing for effect. But we loved her. We always will. The crowd nodded, some dabbing their eyes. My mother sat in the front row, her face a perfect mask of grief, a pearl necklace gleaming against her black silk dress. She sighed delicately, just loud enough to be heard. Then Chloe stepped forward, her voice soft but clear. My sister was my best friend, she said, a single tear glistening on her cheek. I miss her every day. I wish I'd had one more chance to tell her I loved her. My jaw tightened. She was good, too good. I edged closer, my breath shallow. The lie was seamless, wrapping the room in its grip. But then I caught something. 2 cousins, Mason and Jacob, huddled near the back, their voices low but sharp. Chloe's new cafes are killing it, Mason muttered, glancing toward her. Heard she got a big loan from the family right after Hannah, you know. Jacob shrugged. Yeah, funny how that worked out. My blood ran cold. Cafes? Loan? The pieces clicked, jagged and ugly. My inheritance, my future, funneled into Chloe's empire while they mourned a sister who wasn't dead. I slipped into the back row, unnoticed, the sunglasses shielding my face. The pew creaked under me, and I felt like a ghost, watching my own erasure unfold. My father spoke again, his voice heavy. We lost her too soon, but we pray she's at peace. Peace? I wanted to scream. They hadn't lost me. They'd thrown me away, built a stage to sell their story. Chloe clutched her rose tighter, her lips trembling for the crowd. My mother's handkerchief fluttered, a prop in her performance. The room was theirs, every tear, every word, a thread in the lie they'd woven. I scanned the faces, dozens of them, people who'd known me, laughed with me, shared birthday cakes and Christmas mornings. Not one had called, not one had checked. They'd swallowed the story whole, and I hated how easy it had been. My pulse pounded, each beat a countdown. I couldn't stay hidden much longer. The priest stepped forward, his hands raised. "Let us now observe a moment of silence for Hannah's memory," he intoned, his voice echoing off the stone walls. Heads bowed, eyes closed, the room falling still. I stood, my hands steady now, the sunglasses still in place. The doors were just behind me, heavy oak waiting to swing open. My heart thundered, but not with fear, with fire. They'd had their moment, their stage, their lies. Now it was mine. I took a step toward the aisle, the hem of my dress brushing my ankles. The silence was perfect, fragile, begging to be broken. I wasn't their ghost anymore. I was their reckoning, and I was ready to walk in. The church doors loomed before me, their weight no match for the fire in my chest. The priest's voice hung in the air, calling for silence, and the room obeyed, heads bowed, breaths held, a perfect pause for their perfect lie. I pushed the doors open, the hinges groaning loud enough to crack the stillness. Light flooded the aisle, sharp and unyielding, and I stepped into it, my heels striking the marble like gunfire. Click, click, click. The sound ricocheted, pulling every eye toward me. A gasp broke first, then another, rippling through the pews. I didn't flinch, didn't slow. My sunglasses gone now, tucked into my pocket. Let them see my face. My mother's head snapped up, her handkerchief falling as her mouth twisted into a silent scream. She swayed, then crumpled into her seat, one hand clutching her pearls like they could save her. My father froze at the pulpit, his Bible slipping from his fingers, thumping to the floor. Chloe stood rigid, her rose dropping, petals scattering across her polished shoes. Her eyes met mine wide, then narrow like she was calculating her next move. I kept walking, the aisle stretching endless but mine. Whispers erupted, a wildfire of disbelief. "Is that her? It can't be." A child's voice, my young cousin Emma, piped up, "Mom, isn't that Hannah?" I reached the front, standing beneath my own portrait, its smile mocking the truth. The priest stumbled back, his hands raised as if warding off a spirit. I turned to face them all, my voice cutting through the chaos. "I'm not dead," I said slow and clear. "But you buried me anyway." The room held its breath, dozens of eyes pinned on me, some shocked, some terrified, some already reaching for phones. My mother gasped again, louder, theatrical, but I ignored her. I pulled a folder from my bag, its edges worn but its contents ironclad. "No boating accident," I said, holding it up. "No drowning. Just these, pay stubs, leases, receipts. I've been alive, working, breathing. The only thing I lost was you." I turned to my parents, their faces pale, unraveling. "You told the world I was gone. You filed a certificate, faked my death." Chloe stepped forward, her voice shaking but sharp. "Hannah, you're confused. You can't just—" I didn't let her finish. I pulled out my phone, thumbing to a file I'd found last night, a voicemail, sent by mistake to my old number, Chloe's voice smug and careless. "It's done," she'd said, laughing. "The money's mine, and she's out of the picture for good." I hit play, her words echoing through the church, cold and damning. Gasps rose, louder now, phones lifting, red dots blinking as people recorded. Chloe's face drained of color, her hands twisting her necklace until it snapped, pearls bouncing across the floor. "You didn't just lie," I said, my eyes on her. "You stole everything. My trust fund, my inheritance, grandma's painting, my life. All to prop up your cafes, your shiny new house." I turned to my father, who hadn't moved, his mouth open but silent. "And you let her?" You signed it away, said I had no heirs, because a dead daughter was easier than a disowned one. The crowd stirred, murmurs swelling. Someone whispered, "She's got proof." Another hissed, "They lied to us all." My mother tried to stand, her voice shrill. "Hannah, how dare you?" I cut her off, my voice calm but steel. "How dare I? You mourned a daughter you threw out. You didn't lose me. You erased me." I faced the room, their faces a blur of shock and shame. You all believed it. Not one of you called, not one of you checked. But here I am, and this, I held up the folder again, is the truth. Chloe lunged forward, desperate. "You're ruining everything," she spat, but her voice cracked and no one listened. The phones kept filming, capturing every word, every tear, every lie crumbling. I stepped back, my heart pounding but steady. This wasn't just my moment. It was theirs, too. The crowd waking up to the fraud they'd been fed. I'd come to haunt them, and now the world was watching. One wrong move and they'd fall or I'd rise. Either way, the stage was mine.